There we go.
Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio. Place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Alive, and we got royalty in the building. Okay, we got the hip hop high priestess. We got the everyday African CEO. We got Back to the Future. We got the Sankofa moment going on. We got
I love it.
everything in the building. Okay, we got
I love
everything.
it.
I love
I
every
receive
time
it.
she
You be
comes
gassing me up,
with her
bro.
brilliance, with her essence, with her vibes and all that together. So let's welcome to the platform the goddess of empowerment and microphone slashing Queen IFe Jie.
What up? What up? What up? What up? What's really good? Doing the fucking knowledge this morning. Really, it's the afternoon.
That's it, right?
What's good, fam? It's always
Whatever
a
you
pleasure to
want
be
to
on
call
with you. Yeah, whatever it is,
it.
right?
Love,
What's really good?
love. I tell you, time only relevant when you need to be somewhere or need to be leaving somewhere. That's it.
That
Any other
part.
time in between, it is what it is.
That
So how
part.
you feel? Huh? How you feeling?
Man, feeling good, feeling strong. Just came out the new moon, full moon. You know what I mean? Vibes is good.
Mm,
Things is going. Momentum is moving. We just got out of Black August. So that's lit. You know what I mean? It
right?
was a good Black August this year too. Definitely. Shouts out to everybody
For
that was a
real.
part of the Black August concert. That was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so feeling good, bro. Definitely. The movement is moving.
that's it. That's proof of
Hell
life.
yeah.
Otherwise, it's dead.
That
Okay.
part. That part.
So we in September. This is supposed to be Black Reading Month. So
Okay.
in the essence of restructuring and returning to our galactic center, our meiotic balance. There's a lot of stuff that have been going on, you know, with this whole wave of misrepresentation and attributing
Mm.
it to our sisters, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, so definitely wanted to return back to an empowerment type of vibe and
Yeah.
energy and feel in a restoration and a restorative type of situation.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Absolutely.
this month of September is an ode and honor to how we are going to rise as a nation. A nation can rise no higher than its woman. So
Right
if
on.
our women are despised and rejected and disrespected, what the hell that say to us as a man? We
Yeah.
ain't got shit going. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. I
so,
hear you.
really wanted to hear your thoughts and some words of wisdom from your lessons learned. You know, as an organizer, as an activist, as an artist, as an educator, as a mama. All that everyday African
All that, all that, all
vibe that
that.
what I'm saying. We don't get a chance to really unpack. Kind of just like, oh, Afi look like she got it going on. Okay, Ife got it. So it's all good, but they'll never know. You see what I'm saying? They
Yeah,
never know because
yeah,
you hold it. Lace us up. Lace
yeah.
us with some game. Like how
Well,
you
yeah,
able to navigate these experiences?
yeah. You always get really good questions. You know that, and that's an amazing question. This is a hot topic right now. A lot of people are talking about, women and how they are manifesting that power or not, or manipulating it or using it for wrong and all that whole energy. That's a big thing ever since the WAP video came out. And what's honest is that one of my favorite like scenarios to talk about the order of men and women, because a lot of times we rely on Christianity to give us the order. You know what I mean? Like the man is the head of the household and the woman is the helpmate and all of that. And a lot of that rhetoric it doesn't serve folks. It doesn't serve the men and it doesn't serve the women. But one of my favorite things to borrow from is the Ghanaian concept of kingship, queenship, and how that royalty is associated. But what's very powerful is that they say that the woman is the kingdom and that the man sits on the throne of the kingdom to protect the kingdom. You know what I mean? But if there is no woman, then there is no king. You feel me? And if there's no kingdom, then there's nothing for the man to really protect and no role for him to occupy. So I love that because it's a very it's a very complementary scenario. You know what I mean? As a woman is in alignment with what her purpose is, what her um, responsibilities are, you know, in terms of herself as a woman, as a person that is responsible to creator, responsible to her children, responsible to her household. And as she's building that and cultivating that, then the man comes and assists in protecting that and sustaining that. One of my homeboys told me this, which was very powerful. One of my homeboys, that's also a Babalawo, my nigga Banga. So shouts out to the real ones out there. But Banga was like, you only got what you could protect. So if I'm walking down the street right now with a band and I got, you know, no gun or no means to protect the money that's in my pocket, anybody can run up on me at any second and take that $1,000. You see what I'm saying? So it's almost like I never even had it. So you could only possess what you could protect. You feel me? So as the black men and black women are starting to have these open conversations about how we are establishing relationship and support for one another, a large part of that is first a woman got to have some business about herself. You know what I mean? She has to have something that she's contributing, whether that's, you know, because of a higher calling or just what she's contributing to her family and her household, her community. But when a woman does the work and has something that is of value, then it makes it conducive for a man to come and to help protect that, to help sustain that, to help build that maybe even further. You know what I mean? The woman is the kingdom and the man protects the kingdom, you know, and that shit has always been very powerful for me. I don't know why my nose is itching so goddamn much, but I don't know why that's been so powerful for me. But that's always been really, really dope because it gives women not a purpose, but a very real role. You know what I mean? Like I can't do my job as a man because my woman hasn't done her job as a woman. You know what I mean? And I can't do my job as a woman because I'm not in alignment with who I am, and I don't know that there's something greater than myself. And I don't, you know what I mean? Like if I'm not tapped into source, then I don't necessarily know what my purpose is, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. But when a woman can tap in and she could get a little sense of what her intention is what's supposed to be achieved while she's here on this plane, then it helps her be in alignment with herself off top. You feel what I mean? And a man becomes very complimentary to that. Now, when that shit is off balance, then that's when you start getting that off balance ass shit. You know what I mean? You start getting people that's all the fuck out of order. You know, and some of our men get out of order as well. They be thinking that they supposed to do some crazy shit, you know what I'm saying, to impact a woman's life and control a woman's life or minimize what it is that she's able to contribute. You know what I mean? And so that shit is out of order. You know what I mean? So it worked both ways. And when a woman is not aware of her purpose and she ain't aware of her power, then she's out wasting her energy frivolously. And that could be through promiscuous behavior. It could be just wasting her energy, not being able to benefit from her own, talent, you know what I mean? Or resources. It could be a lot of shit that get out of fucking order. But the whole G is that when you know that you are in alignment as a woman, then the type of men that you attract becomes very different. And you want that type of attraction and not that chaotic shit. Because that chaotic shit is what we see being promoted right now, unfortunately. You know, and no shade to my sisters that's on that WAP shit. It's some girls that are magical motherfucking creatures when they get into them strip clubs. And I'm not no hater because I will go to the strip club and I love to see a bitch on the pole. It's a magical thing. And there's some women that do it and they're amazing at it and they should get paid for the shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's not all of what divine femininity looks like. You know, there are some women that could be very owning of their body and decide that they want to share their body with the masses for entertainment reasons, and that's their business. But there are other women that don't do nothing like that at all. You know what I mean? And so there has to be some kind of context when you're talking about, promoting a certain kind of WAP culture or promoting another kind of like goddess culture, because that could get out of hand too. Some women could get all into that era and that air, of like, oh, I'm a queen, I'm a goddess, and she could come off very conceited and very like, well, bitch, nobody wants you no way with your high goddess ass. You know what I'm saying? Like that could be very problematic as well. So there's extremes to all this shit. You feel me? Like genuinely. But it really boiled down to people knowing that they have a purpose. And if you know what your purpose is, focus on your purpose, do your purpose. And then the partnerships and the way that you even do partnerships are going to change. And a lot of people need to be little more focused on themselves and their goals, and then worry about that other shit later. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that stuff gets very distracting. You know, but it's a very powerful thing though, and I do appreciate women who can be in a certain space and own their bodies and claim that power and claim that sexual energy and use it for good and not for evil. Like that woman is a real woman, and I'm not no hater to her. You know what I mean? Not at all.
It's the highest and most powerful force in the universe. That's how the universe comes into existence. That's how life
Yeah, it is.
comes into existence. That's the highest form. That creative energy, you know?
Yeah,
Like, they
definitely.
call me born all the time. Born is to bring into existence either physically or mentally. So what are you making manifest?
Right,
Physically or mentally, emotionally, psychologically,
right,
spiritually, whatever that is. What are you borning into existence? Or are
right.
you bearing?
Yeah,
Okay? You know what
yeah,
I'm
that's
saying?
real.
If you're not borning something into existence, you're bearing. You see what I'm saying? You're bearing.
Yeah,
So, you know, that kind of concept in regards to riding those waves and that energy, when you push
yeah,
these kinds of thoughts into the minds of the creatress of the universe, then these are thoughts that are coming out. These are things that are being exploited. These are things that people are
yeah,
taking advantage of. You see what I'm saying? Like predators. Like this is the mental, emotional, and psychological pathology of a sexual predator. This is what it looks like. To push a thought into
yeah,
your mind and have you thinking this is yours. You see what I'm
yeah.
saying?
But yeah, but
Because
you
it
know,
comes
I
from
want
you.
to unpack that just a little bit because sexual predators are very real
Right.
and predatory energy is very real. And not to excuse it or condone it, but to contextualize it, I want to say that it's very complicated the way sex and sexuality is organized here in America, because in other cultures, it's very different. You know what I mean? This culture tends to be hypersexual, hypersexual, stupid sexual. You know what I'm saying? To the point where you get such a fascination with sex that even the idea of abstinence becomes something that's attributed to that hypersexuality. So either you're gonna do it a lot, or you're gonna not gonna do it at all. You know what I mean? There's this extremity in American culture about sexual energy. But if you look at other spaces, sexual energy may not necessarily be repressed, and it may not be hyper promoted. And so people might have a very safe and healthy relationship with sexual energy. Our culture don't have that. You know what I mean? A man cannot hold another man's hand and show intimacy in that way in America. But if you go to Arabia, if you go to Nigeria, if you go to other countries, you might see two men walking down the street holding hands because that's his brother and he got love for his brother. And it's just a different type of culture and permission, you know what I mean, in terms of intimacy. And that don't necessarily have to be romantic and it doesn't have to be necessarily sexual. So I just want to say that because sometimes this culture gets very, they want to be able to regulate sexual energy in a very real way. And that is a consequence of the way that our culture has allowed sexual energy to be used and used against us in our experience here. So say for instance, the man that in another culture might have had five wives had a household where he was able to sustain five different women with five different sets of children because he was that abundant and that balling and that big of a, boss that he could actually do that, right? Well, that same man, you end up capturing him, turning him into a buck, making him have sex with multiple women without any sense of responsibility or connection, and you turn him out. You know what I mean? But the true nature is that, yeah, he might have had five women already, but you exacerbated that energy and made him hate that energy and made him use that sexual energy in such an exploitive way that that ends up becoming problematic for him and problematic for the women that he's intimate with. So again, this culture has not had a good relationship with sexual energy, period. And that our bodies have always been exploited when it comes into that improper relationship, whether that's like the Venus Hottentot, Sarah Bartman. You know, when they chopped up her body and her butt and put her on display, like that shit's crazy as fuck. And you still got women that subconsciously subscribe to that same narrative of being fascinated with body parts and, you know, what am I trying to say? Promoting that. You feel me? But that shit is crazy as fuck. White supremacy is a motherfucker. You know what I mean? And at the same time, you have men who weren't able to express themselves, whether they were, you know, allowed to have intimate relationships with one woman or be able to explore the traditional relationships of polygamy and be responsible for multiple households. Like all of that shit got out of fucking order when white supremacy comes into play and when we are removed from our cultures. So I just want to always contextualize that, because yes, it might be a problem when you see a woman dress in a certain kind of way or present herself to be promiscuous, but then you also talking about a people that loved our bodies. And if you look at certain eras of our culture, as late as like the 14th century, you still had African women that would be bare breasted and would have the jewelry and still maybe have the lapa on. But that wasn't so fucking taboo, my nigga. You know what I mean? For her to have her breasts out. Because that was maybe a sign of power. Or if the longer her titties is, the more babies she done had and the more wealth that she done had. And, you know, just the way that our bodies were even contextualized in a space that was healthy, in a space that was whole, in a space that knew that there were other things in life than not just subscribing to just saying, oh, I'm identified by who I fuck and sexuality is just the epitome of my purpose here. You feel me? So that shit gets really kind of convoluted when we start talking about women's bodies, sexuality, relationships, because all of it is in the context of white supremacy. All of it is in the context of something that's very negative and toxic. So nothing seems normal. Nothing seems normal. You know what I mean? If you go to South Africa right now, there's a million girls that look like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B without no injections. You know what I'm saying? For that woman to flaunt her body, that's a day in the life. You know, it's not a big deal. There's parts of our culture that, yeah, you want to twerk, my nigga. That's a part of the culture. Go shake that ass. Yeah, that's a part of our culture. But then you come over here to the United States and the shit gets turned out and everything starts getting hyper this and hyper that, you know, and exploited for this and exploited for that. And so shit starts getting out of fucking order. So I just want to always contextualize that. These conversations are never normal because they're always within the context of white supremacy and oppression. But without that, then these types of things feel very liberating and very free. Because technically, a woman should be able to enjoy her body the same way a man should be able to enjoy his body, you know, and should be free to be able to exploit certain kind of relationships in a way that a man should be free to exploit certain kind of relationships. But everybody knows that they have a role and a purpose, you know what I mean, and a responsibility to each other, you know. So I just want to say that because I don't think that gets said enough. Because people really like to blame the victim and blame this and blame that. But very rarely do we blame white supremacy. Very rarely do we blame our oppression. Very rarely will we make sure that that's a part of the conversation when we talking about women and should they be whopping or not. That's just real.
Being controlled through vice is something that a capitalist society thrives on. So
Yeah,
you got repression and control of repression and regulation of repression through vice. You see what I'm saying? This
yeah,
is why you got a strip club. This is why you have a strip club. You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's there where you create spaces like that that you say are private but public at the same time. You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
And what goes along with everything else. You know, like before we started, I was talking about sex trafficking because sex trafficking isn't something that
yeah.
all these great minds that run around out here don't go nowhere near that. You understand? They don't go
Right,
nowhere
right.
against molestation, you know, pedophilia, any of that. They don't go
Yeah,
nowhere in that bag, and you know, they just be like, be vegan and all this other shit. You
right,
understand what I'm saying?
right, right.
Like
Mm,
there is no push in mental health and healing from trauma, generational trauma. You know, us as
yeah,
practitioners, we look at the way to heal our entire bloodline. There's entire ancestral generations that went through trauma and just passed it from generation to generation to generation to
Absolutely.
generation. So we
Absolutely.
having to be the avengers of our bloodline have to heal from sexual trauma, domestic violence, all these other things
Absolutely.
that are in our blood. You see what I'm saying? So in that
Absolutely.
essence, going to that, going to that and unpacking that. And one of the greatest telltales of abuse is being promiscuous. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Amongst everything else that's out there, one of the greatest indicators. So with that becomes a situation where the capitalists look at that as a motivation to create situations of vice. These little
Yeah.
houses, these little this little that, so that they
Yeah.
can capitalize on it. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
even in that space, it's up for that because you know we got cats out here looking for people that's missing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
can't say we out here looking for people that's missing because the people that's working against us are making money off of them missing and making money off of them being found.
That's
You see what I'm
real.
saying?
That's real. And the human
So
sex
all
trafficking thing is a real thing. That's a real thing, and that's a part of
mm-hmm,
the ugliness that people don't want to necessarily talk about, which I can appreciate. That people don't want to talk about it because it's very nasty and it's very uncomfortable to have to accept that. Yeah, there are still women, children, boys, girls that are being
right,
sex trafficked. You know what I'm saying? And that's a real thing.
right,
But again, that speaks not necessarily to the victim, but to the culture and the context that we're living in, where sex trafficking, number one, is an industry. You know what I mean? In the first
mm-hmm,
place, a lucrative industry.
mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? And the types of
right,
people that feel subjected to have to engage in that industry because of maybe other options that are not available to them. You know what I mean? So I always want to make sure that we are looking at not just the symptoms, but the causes of the disease. Because human sex trafficking is absolutely a fucking problem. But then there's also a cause that has allowed that type of symptom to linger and to permeate our communities. You know what I mean? But I do think that hypersexuality and that energy, that shit is a problem. You know what I mean? Because you do get some people that are so fascinated and so focused on that vibration that they become very like, you know, consumed by it, and they will pay for the pussy. You know what I'm saying? And they'll do crazy shit. You know what I mean? Sexually, and just very devious type things, like you mentioned, pedophilia. I don't necessarily think I'm always very weird about that because there was a part of our life where a woman might have been 12 down in Mississippi and might have married an 18-year-old man and sat up and had 14 kids by this nigga and just never knew no other man ever in her life. We all got grandmamas and great grandmamas that's like that. In today's culture, we would totally say that is a pedophilic ass relationship. She's not old enough to make a decision like that for herself. And we shouldn't allow that to happen. There's laws, obviously, that have gone and been passed to make sure that those types of things don't happen anymore. But that was a very real reality. And what's ironic is that relationship from a 13-year-old to an 18-year-old was a lot more solid than some of this free shit that y'all got going on now. Because at least that man had a responsibility to that 13-year-old girl, and he was proud to make sure that he took care of her and all of them kids that they produced. You feel me? So there's levels of even again how we cut off certain lines of what's appropriate and not appropriate, and a lot of times that shit is influenced by the white Anglo-Saxon Puritan kind of frame of reference of Christianity and what's appropriate and not appropriate. You feel me? But even
culture plays
that
a factor.
deviousness and that,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean,
yeah,
that shit is impacted by so many different things. But I do think that the deviousness, and when people are so engaged in that vibration, that they might
mm-hmm,
find themselves doing crazy shit like fucking kids and dogs. You know what I'm saying? I
right,
remember watching this documentary about some people in England, and at one point they had to make it illegal officially for you not to be able to fuck your animal because they were fucking animals all the time. You know what I mean? And that was like not a taboo thing. And then finally Parliament had to make it a against the law, my nigga. Like, stop fucking these dogs, y'all. You feel me? So anybody that's just consumed by that vibration, you're gonna find yourself doing some wild out shit. Just like a person that sits up and watch porno all the goddamn time. You know, watch something else, my nigga. You can't just sit up and just be vibrating on that frequency all the time. That shit is out of fucking order. There's other things in life for you to focus your energy on. I remember somebody had communicated that no, it was Jewel Pookum, and she was talking. She was doing a lecture about sexual energy and just sexuality. You know, and Jewel Pookum is a very phenomenal author, very phenomenal speaker. I would encourage everybody to go and check her out, listen to some of her lectures and all of that. It's very fabulous. But she was talking about at one lecture that I was watching that our sexuality and our sexual organs literally is less than 5% of our body, but it's almost 90% of our focus. And she was like, that just tells you something, that as a culture, we're out of order because we give 90% of our energy to something that literally is only 5% of our bodies, where you have other pieces of your body that are just as equally important, whether that's cultivating the brain, cultivating the spirit, cultivating the body in terms of the organs, good food, good diet. But we don't emphasize that. We don't put that on the forefront in this culture. We put sexuality as our culture. When people are introduced to you, and I know that some people are not going to agree with this, but there are some people that will be introduced to you, and the first thing that they identify themselves as are their sexual monikers. You know, my name is Ife and I'm bi. You know what I mean? Or my name is Ife and I'm trans. Well, the truth of the matter is that yes, you are bi. Yes, you are trans. But your sexuality is such a small part and a very intimate and a very private part of your body that I almost don't want to know what the fuck you do in your bedroom. You know what I mean? I actually want to know, well, what do you do in life? You know what I mean? What's your business? What's your purpose in life? What has the Lord called you here to do? You know what I mean? But again, this culture is so hyper fucking sexual that people have to announce themselves to resist the sexual repression that is put on them. You know what I mean? So if I'm telling you all your life you can't be gay, and then finally you find your voice, then you trying to let everybody and their mama know every chance you get, nigga, this is me and I'm gay, because that energy has been repressed for so long. But if you're ever able to be gay and nobody gives a fuck, then people can start allowing themselves to identify with other things that might be actually more indicative to the people and the spirit and the energy that they really are. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily who they fuck, because who they fuck is their private business. And it's your business. You do what you do. But who you are as a spirit is not who you are sexually. You know what I mean? That's not all of the essence of what defines that. But that's just my humble opinion. And I know that some people will really be upset about that. But I do recognize that when you are repressed sexually, you have to find your space and you have to find your lane to not be repressed. So I'm no hater to the LGBTQ community for making sure that their voices are heard and their experiences are expressed, because that's very real. But in a very real way, if you were not sexually repressed and people were free to do and live how they wanted to live, then you may not find so many crazy things that people are doing. You know what I mean? Because they're living. It's like fucking in a closet. You know what I'm saying? You doing all kind of crazy shit because you in a closet. You know, but if you're able to get out the closet and go into bed, then dog, you might actually have a lot more fun. It might be a lot more liberating. You know, but you get people that are like literally sexually repressed for so many different things, because they religion tell them they're not supposed to have sex like that. The community, even in our RBG community, in our revolutionary community, we could be very fucking toxic to people who are trans, to people who are gay. That shit is not necessary. It really isn't. You know what I mean? Let people fuck who they want to fuck. But at the end of the day, make sure that we all are focused on the same goal. And that might be our liberation. That might be us being able to create a world for ourselves. A lot of times people don't want to talk about revolutionaries like Kwesi Balagoon. Balagoon was a queer man. You know what I mean? But a gangster ass fucking revolutionary. That nigga was hard as fuck. But he loved men. You know, and people don't like to talk about that. Asada Shakur, people don't like to talk about that. She definitely loves women. You know what I mean? I don't know if she would identify as bi or queer or whatever, but she definitely loves women or has loved women. Nahanda Biadum definitely has loved women. You know, so some of our favorite revolutionaries are queer as fuck. You know, so sometimes that shit again gets convoluted, because once you are start understanding that our sexual expressions and our sexual experience has been compressed and repressed by oppression and white supremacy, then you start recognizing that even the way that we think about stuff is fucked up, and we need to let a lot of that shit go. Legit, legit, legit. We got a lot of let of that stuff go.
Y'all see why you're educated, right? Y'all see that right there. Okay. Let y'all up listen to serious game right there. Some serious game. So um
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this too. I'm a victim of all of this shit. So I still say bitch. I still have to challenge myself. We all are works in progress. You feel me? There's still things that we all can be doing to be better. But I do want to say that what's never good is to be pointing the finger at each other and shaming each other. You know what I'm saying? If there's a woman that wants to whop it out all motherfucking day long, let her whop it out. And if you get a chance to while you in the bed with her, then you might want to give her some game. You might want to tell her like, well, baby, you ain't got to do it like this, or maybe there's a better way to do it. There's a way still to uplift our people without shaming them. You know what I mean? I remember one scene in The Spook Who Sat by the Door. You know that movie, right? When the old boy
of
becomes an
course,
FBI agent,
yeah,
and
yeah.
do you remember that the one there's a woman in the movie that she's essentially a prostitute. If you really
Yeah.
just do the math. Beautiful woman,
Mm-hmm.
classic actress too. She just passed away, I think maybe last year sometime. But if you notice in the movie, he starts fucking with her. You know what I mean? And then he starts to like lace her, like little by little. And then he tells her that
Mm-hmm.
one time, he was like, you know what? You look just like this queen in this book
Yeah.
that I was reading. And then by the end of the movie, we see that she didn't cut off her hair short and natural. She's wearing African clothes. You see what I'm saying? She got the big gold earrings on. And she like, yeah, he was one of the realest niggas I ever met. You remember that when she starts
Right.
talking about him at the end of the movie? You feel me? So
And
I'm
she
like,
told them that they was looking for him. She told them they was looking for him, and
come on. She looked out for
the
him.
bourgeois turned him into the police.
Come on. That's why I'm like, he ain't
Yeah.
had to dog that woman out. He ain't had to shame her, because that ain't a part of it, bro. We trying to build a nation. So why is you shaming these women? Nah, let them do what they do. And a real G ass nigga, a real G ass sister is gonna pull your coattail on some love shit. Like, well, mama, you think that shit the shit? Let me show you something else that's even more the shit. You know what I mean? Or you divine in that way? Yeah, you can work the fuck out that pole, but let me show you how you can work the fuck out these pots and do this prayer shit just as dope. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't got to talk shit about each other. We ain't got to bash each other. We ain't got to point the blame and point the finger and this person ain't shit and this nigga ain't shit because he's gay as fuck and she ain't shit because she's fucking all these niggas. Like, that shit is unnecessary, my nigga. It really is. You know what I mean? We've all been traumatized. We all have our certain ways that we've been able to cope being African in America. So don't penalize us either even further. Start to make sure that we can say, at least with my people, I know that I'm not going to be shamed, and love each other long enough and strong enough that we can still encourage each other. You know what I mean? I'm not going to shame them WAP girls. I'm not going to hate on Cardi B and fucking Megan Thee Stallion. I'm not going to do that. But I do think that there needs to be more women that the young people get to be exposed to. So it's not just Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, but you also see somebody like a Sarai. You also see somebody like a Rhapsody. You know what I mean? You see somebody like Sampa the Great. And these women are just as dope, just as beautiful. You know what I mean? But they ain't whopping it out. You feel me? So my biggest thing is just give the people variety and let them choose for themselves. But don't assume that that's just the one way. That would be an assumption, and we know we ain't trying to do that.
Right. One final message of empowerment for everybody that's listening. We got some great things going on here. Talk about you. Talk about that career you got going on out here, making stuff happening. You see what I'm saying? And let's wrap it.
Yeah, so the movement is definitely moving, supported. We returning to the real, y'all, and the real is all about variety. The real is all about being able to have every voice that's underneath the sun heard and honored and respected. You know what I mean? So from you know, the woman that's all about that WAP shit, and to the woman that's all about that goddess shit. Each needs to be able to have their platform, and each needs to be able to be honored. So I just want to leave folks with that. You know what I mean? Never forget to point the blame at white supremacy. Stop pointing the blame at each other, to your brother, to your sister. That shit is not necessary. Point the finger at the motherfucker who's the cause for all of our problems. You feel me? And then, of course, you know, I just want to encourage people to never just believe everything you always see. There's always a background story to shit. You know, my dad used to always say, well, what about the context? You know what I mean? What's the context of all this shit? So as folks is having these conversations and talking about women and talking about their bodies and their right to do certain things with their bodies and how men respond to that and what is a man's role in that, just make sure that we contextualizing this shit. You know what I mean? Make sure that we really having authentic conversations and making sure that we put white supremacy in the middle of it. Otherwise, we're going to come off as just bashing each other, hurting each other, further traumatizing each other, blaming each other, you know, and we're not going to get nowhere like that. But if we really trying to nation build, we really trying to get somewhere, then we got to make sure that white supremacy is in the conversation and we're not blaming each other at the end of the day. So I want to just leave with that. And shouts out to all my queens out there that's doing their queen shit. All them hoes out there doing that hoe shit. You know what I'm saying? All them bitches out there doing that bitch shit. Because it's a lot of women doing a lot of different things. And do your shit to the fullest. Go hard, goddamn, and go, you know what I mean? Win, goddamn. You know what I mean? Just make sure you ask blame for me so I can get mine. You know what I mean? That's all. That's my only thing. You know what I mean? So everybody go hard. Go hard. Do your shit. Do your shit. Notice something greater than yourself and tap in.
Social media, let the people know where they can get the music, you understand? Where they can view the video, the footage, you understand what I'm saying? Let them know what's happening before we get up out of here.
Yeah, fuck with everything on YouTube. Just search IFe Jie. We got a video that we just released called Back in Time. Super excited about it. I appreciate the support. I definitely seen how you went and got all of the catalog off of Bandcamp. So you can get all of my music on bandcamp.com, or you can visit www.ifejie.la, ifejie.la. You can fuck with everything. And we got a new video that we finna put out very fucking soon. I'm super excited. The song is called Get Off. And it's more of like a party dance kind of vibe, you know what I'm saying, for all my West Coasters and all of that shit. And I'm hoping everybody's going to love it. So, yeah, support the movement. The movement is moving. Return to the real, y'all, because that's what it's all about. You know, if we don't use hip hop for our liberation, hip hop would definitely be used for our destruction, our demise. So it's time for us to get back to the real essence of how powerful hip hop really is, to be able to transform our, you know, realities into something that we all could be proud of, and to be able to bring out the liberation and the freedom that we all are fighting for. So continue to struggle hard and do the fucking knowledge, yo.
I appreciate you coming through. Always lacing us and dropping them jewels. Okay?
My pleasure.
We up out of here.
All right, peace and blessings. Love you, bye.
Yeah. Now we gonna tell them. Night in front. We tell them like this, yo. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a African. Yeah, y'all like that? No more. This man's mind is open. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a. Let's get back to the
motive is best developed by recognizing the common enemy.